All right, welcome once again to the Grand Prix project with me, your host, Andre Miller, and the big bro.
Thanos, Firestarter. What's up,
What's going on?
man?
Ah, what a
Tired,
weekend!
bro.
What a weekend!
Yeah, I mean, it. The ending to the weekend was kind of like, yeah, I think that was unexpected. Leading up until that point, the weekend was pretty much what we expected it was going to be.
Yeah,
There was nothing really surprising about it until that moment, but we get to that when we get to that point. But yeah,
yeah.
it was pretty
Um,
much. I think it was pretty much as straightforward as we anticipated sort of weekend.
up until the mistake in the main race, right?
Yeah, which we'll get to at some point.
Yeah.
It's not the
Well,
first time he's done that, so
yeah. Well, we let's. All right, then. So actually, we are talking about the America's GP, MotoGP third race of the season in Kota Circuit of the Americas, which I just returned from, and must say it was an amazing weekend. But I'm gonna do something totally different from this. I'm just gonna have a quick one with just the Kota experience, which is gonna be totally different from this podcast, from this episode, because that was a movie within itself, right? Met some people too. Met some wonderful people, right? That I'll name on. But yeah, let's kick it off. Marquez dominant start kind of altered itself, right?
yeah, I mean, he lighted his perfect record. You know what I mean? Crashed out in one of the free practice sessions. Almost did him his own version of Jorge Martin with that
Yeah.
face plant. Luckily, I don't think he was going fast enough, because if he was going any faster and he fell off and fell like that, I think he probably would have done himself some serious damage. But, picked himself up, dusted himself off, went back out, dominated again. He was what, fastest in all the practice sessions?
Um.
Easily. Yeah, he was
The,
fastest
the,
in,
the,
except I don't think he was fastest in the warm up. I could be wrong because I missed that part. But all the practice sessions, in especially whether it was wet,
I think bar one.
intermediate.
I think bar one. I think his Bravo was fastest one. I was there, but I was behind doing so much
No, I
things.
don't think Alex was faster than him in none of the practice
I
sessions.
think one of the sessions. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Because the one he crashed out of, he got back on the bike and he was come back out. And I'm sure he was quicker than everybody else. But it just showed you where he was, where his pace is so far this season, that he's so comfortable on that Ducati right now. I think to beat him will require him making mistakes.
Like what just happened.
Yeah. And throw away an easy 25 points. You know what I mean? When was the last time someone would have started the season with 6 straight wins? If I'm not mistaken, I probably could go back to when they first came in when they move away from the 500 cc's to the now V4s, when Rossi had that Honda. I think that was probably the last time someone started the season in that form, but I could be wrong. I'd have to go back and check the
Yeah.
results,
So
check the stats.
it's FP1. He wasn't fastest. Morbidelli was fastest in FP1.
More, okay, then cool. There you
Morbidelli
go,
was fastest in FP1.
another Ducati.
Yeah.
You know,
I
yeah.
I did a video of me climbing the Kota Tower. There's an elevator and then there's 420 steps.
Yeah.
And at the end of the video, I said something. I haven't released the video, but obviously I'm gonna say what I said on the video now because I promised I was gonna say it on the podcast. So when I was at the top of the tower, right, I was looking on because the thing under the tower, once you come from under the Red Bull Bridge, that corner, and there was something that unique that I saw that was on that it was only happening on. Marquez was the only person that was doing it. And I looked for a bit, I zoomed in my camera and I'm looking and I'm like, this is crazy. I've never seen. I always heard people's like other riders or even people in the paddock speak on it, but I've never seen it with my own eyes. And that is the way they say it modulates with the front tire, with the front end of the bike.
Mm-hmm.
This guy was going around the corner, and you could literally see the front of the bike, literally like it's oscillating,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm like, how the hell is he doing that? And I stood and I watched every other rider. No one else can do it. You could see it like he's literally on the edge of grip, like he's towing and it was beautiful to see. I'm not even gonna lie, because I'm like, you can't even process how someone could do that at that speed, lean angle, and he just doing something. You could just see the front of the bike just oscillating on the line, and he's got it under control, but he's getting speed out of it. I'm like, I've never seen.
Which is why they say left-hand corner is where he makes up most of his times. Because
But that corner
again,
coming out on it, that's a right-hander.
No, turn one.
No, not turn. I'm not talking about turn. I'm talking about when you turn one, come around, and you get to the Red Bull. There's a Red Bull bridge, right? I can't remember what turn it is. And once you dip under the bridge, it's like coming out. It's like a right-hander. It's like a long right-hand, right? And
the
so
back straight.
Is it off the back straight? I think it's before you head onto the back straight. I don't really. I would have to go back and look and pick out the corner number because yeah, but yeah, standing from top of the tower and just looking at, I've never seen anything like. I always heard about it, the way he thinks that he could do it the front end of the bike, and how he could, and seeing it with my own two eyes was like wow, that's crazy. That's wild. The way he just lives on the edge of grip.
That's why he is who he is. You know what I mean? He's one of the all-time aliens. But again, at the same time, he's going to be kicking himself because he knew he threw away what was an easy win for him.
I don't think he'll be kicking himself. I
Oh,
think he knows.
he will because he has to, because he went from having a 37-point lead over Peco to now being only 12 points ahead of him.
That's fine. You remember before the injury? You remember the last time Marc crashed out of Kota? When was that?
What's that? I don't remember. No.
2019.
2019. Yeah, but they didn't have one there in 2020, right?
No, and but I say there's something significant about 2019.
Why? He went on to win the championships.
That's his most dominant season ever in MotoGP, right?
Yeah, but
and I think you'll be worried if he. I don't think. Yeah, anyone who puts in that type of work would is gonna feel some type of way. But I think Marc is one of them riders that just gets up and just be like, all right, then it happened. Move on to the next race.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's gonna kick himself because again,
he's gonna feel disappointed. I don't think he's gonna live on it.
You threw away 20. It was a 37-point lead, and if he had won the race, it would have been 42 points. So if you look at it, it's a what? From 42 to 12,
31.
It's a 30-point swing in Peco's favor.
It's 11 points now.
No, I thought it was 12. I thought he's 1 point behind Alex, and Peco is 12 points behind Alex. No,
yeah, and 11 points behind Marc.
Okay, so it's a 31 point. It's a 30-point swing in Peco's favor. That's a massive amount. So if he comes back and he loses the championship,
that ain't gonna happen.
Well, again, you can't say that because again, you're
barring injuries, it ain't gonna happen.
But you did again. That means you're disregarding Peco, and I don't think. You're somewhat doing. You're somewhat doing that.
The thing is, I think barring injuries, the only way Peco beats Marc this season is it has to be an injury. Or Marc is gonna. That's the way I'm seeing it.
Okay, fair enough. You can say that, but at the same time, don't discount Peco.
Because I saw you said something as well. I saw you tweeted something and you said if Alex had made if Peco had made the
move earlier on Alex,
he was not going to live with Marc.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
Did you see the interview with Marc?
What did he say?
Tardazzi was telling him, "Hey man, just win the race. Don't go up the road 4 seconds. Just win it at the slowest possible time that you got." And I think that's what he was saying, that when he built up the gap in the main race, when he started controlling it, that's when he made the mistake and crash. Right?
Was that mistake because he was controlling the race? I'm not gonna put. I don't agree with that. And again, My
Trust me,
point
being there,
is,
you would have known Peco was not living. No
my
one was living in the same time zone as Mark this past weekend.
but what I said was, if Pecco had passed Alex on that first lap, maybe he could have stayed with him. He could have gone with him.
You're
I
adding
don't
the
mean
maybe now.
stay.
Okay, so now you're
Okay,
adding the maybe.
no, he would have
Okay,
got. I did because that's what I said. If he had passed Alex on that first lap, he could have gone with him. We don't know if he would have been able to maintain it for over the whole entire race distance, but he would have been able to go with him at an earlier stage. You never, and you don't know. Again, it's a possibility that it's actually the pressure of having Pecco behind him forced that mistake.
no, not with almost not with a 1.5 second lead. Mm-mm.
So,
Peco,
yeah, but okay, a 1.5 second lead is not really that big of a lead, is it?
what in
Mm-mm.
MotoGP? What are you talking about?
Not with that
Anything
many,
in motor,
not
anything
with
in
that
motor
many
racing,
laps
you
we
could,
left.
yeah, but you could if you could maintain a 1 second lead, the person
Yes,
behind is gonna have to work.
yes, and again, but to maintain that, that person behind you is going to also be pushing as well. So you're going to have to, at some point, you're going to have to up your pace. So I don't think it's really, you can say a 1.5 second is like a safe sort of lead, because again, a snatch break into a braking zone, you run wide, that 1.5 second lead disappears, you find yourself in P2. So it's
Yeah,
not
but that's
really
what I'm
like,
saying. That's dependent on mistakes. I'm saying
yeah, so
a one
which
and
is
a
why
or
you can't say
anything
it's
over a
really a good
second.
lead.
It's a good anything over a second in MotoGP is a good lead.
You can't, but that's what you just proved my point. You can't say it's really a good lead if a snatch breaker you run wide at a corner, run off track means you lose position. It's not really a good lead.
So what
It's
what
it's
would you
a
call a
good
good lead?
lead is something whereby it's
Over three
built in.
seconds?
It builds in a contingency for something like that. So if you snatch a brakes and run a bit wide, the most you probably, if you drop a second to the person behind you, you still maintain your lead. But if you're
Yeah,
like 1.5 seconds and you have that and you drop a second, you
that's
lose
what
you
I'm
lose that
saying. Throwing
position.
those things in, but ask anyone in motor racing a second lead and consider none of that happens, you're gonna have to work to close that gap.
Again, the person behind him is a two-time world champion, and
Yeah.
that's the problem. That's the thing. The problem I'm having with a lot of this Marquez take. Yo, look, we know Marquez is great. We know Marquez is a much better rider than Pecco, but at the same time, don't disregard Pecco as like he's some scrub. The
No,
guy's
no
a
one is
two-time
doing that.
the guy's a two-time world champion for a
No,
reason, and we've seen at the start of this season he's been struggling with that bike. This weekend was the first time that he actually beat one of them, the Marquez brothers, in a race, and he beat Alex on pure pace. He had look at the pass he pulled on Alex 2
yeah.
races ago. That would have never happened. So whatever he found over that weekend, the weekend could be, like I said in the tweet, could lead to what we have at because again,
This is why I don't
Piquet is not slow.
no, this is why I don't buy into Pecco find anything this weekend. The type of weather that we had, Pecco ain't find nothing.
Oh, you mean he didn't find
Even his manager there, Susie and them asked him, so what did they said the bike is the same. Nothing
so
hasn't changed on the
so
bike.
so then
And then
explain
so she said, it's his head, and he said yes.
so then
He hasn't
okay then he found something in his head then.
in his
It
head, so it
might
wasn't the bike.
it might have, but he has been struggling with the bike, and Tardazzi even before the weekend, leading up to the weekend, was saying, yo, they need to understand what's going on with Pecco on the bike and they need to get to the bottom of it.
And they
So
found
he
out this
might,
weekend it
okay,
wasn't the bike.
yeah, but he's not going to tell you if it was the
Right.
bike. It
The
was
thing is, for me, this weekend wasn't a true reflection of nothing. Based on how the weather went and everything I went, I don't think anyone found anything this weekend.
I don't know. I tend to
I don't think
disagree.
anyone found anything this weekend, right? With the running time that they had, a lot of it was wet.
Yeah,
Even
but
because there's a lot that goes on. Even when at the post race when they asked Alex, he was like, you know what? When I saw Marc crash, I decided I'm gonna play the consistent game and just ride my race. I wasn't
yeah,
trying
but
to make
even if Alex
right,
pushed, he didn't have the pace to keep up with Pecco.
right. We don't know
And
that.
how do we know what?
We don't know that.
How I mean we don't
Because
know that?
because he's saying that when he crashed, he was like, you know what? I'm just gonna finish the race, which
So
is a
then,
good thing. Which is a good thing because I'm like, if you find yourself in a position where you see the man up front crash, And then he decided, because the old Alex probably would have never done that, right? And this is what I'm looking at him like, wow, this is actually good, because now he's a more thinking rider.
Yep.
He's a thinker. So we don't know if he had the pace. We don't know, but at the end of the day, Peco won the race.
Yeah,
It was a
but
good
at the
ride by
same time
Peco
you say that, then you can also, then how can you say you don't think if when Pecco passed, if Pecco had passed Alex on that first lap, he couldn't have gone with Marc?
because the pace that Marc had all weekend, everyone knows it. He was
Yeah.
living Marc was over 210 for the whole weekend above everyone.
Okay. But again, I don't agree with your argument that Alex could have gone with Pecco, because
Now, I didn't say that. I said we don't know. Based on what he said, we don't know. So I don't think he had him beat. I don't think the whole thing that you're saying that Peco found. I don't think Peco found anything.
Yeah, but
I think
before the
to say he
crash,
should not win.
but
Huh?
before the crash, before Marc crashed out, the way Pecco passed him on that straight, literally rode away from him. He didn't have anything to respond with, or else
And
he would have
maybe
responded earlier before the crash.
because the thing is with this, right? We don't know. I'm not saying what Peco won the race, right? Which was good for him. I'm happy that he won the race, because now the championship gets restarted in Qatar. And then when it goes on to then, we see who wins.
Mm-hmm.
I know who my money's on, right? I know all the money's on.
Yeah.
Right now. What I'm looking at is ultimately Peco did what he had to do to win. He took the opportunity from Marc's mistake. Alex rode the race, a good race in terms of a thinking rider, right? He's probably looking at, you know what, I'm just trying to play the long game. Maybe he didn't have the pace to go with him, right? I'm just glad that he didn't go with him and overrode if he didn't have the pace and then crash.
Yeah, but
right?
but look at it this way: even if that had happened, what would Alex have lost in
If what
comparison?
had happened.
Because he only lost 5 points to Pecco.
No, even if what had happened.
If Alex had gone with Pecco and he crashed out, he only lost 5 points to Pecco.
Yeah, but you still don't want to lose 5 points. You still got to play the consistent game. Because we see what those crashes do on a championship, right? You only need the first one. All of a sudden, you're in a deficit, and the next mistake, or you
so
do
then
a bad race.
So then Marc should have played
right?
a consistent game as well. He didn't need to be going, because at one point leading up to that crash, he was setting fastest lap after fastest lap.
Marc and Alex is two different people. We know that Marc. We haven't seen Alex win a main race yet. So if Alex is gonna, I say we put Alex in the championship, because he's leading now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I personally think it's not, as I've been saying, I've been preaching it. I've been screaming on top of the hill. Everyone thinks it's a fluke. I doubt it. I think he's made a step as a rider. Don't know where it came from, right?
He's on the He's on the bike that won the championship last year.
He led, but I don't think it's just the bike.
Yeah, but when you have I get what you're saying, but at the same time, when you have a good bike, obviously your performances are going to go improve.
Yes, it should, right? So let me ask you this. Based on that theory, right? Who's the better rider? Morbidelli or Alex Marquez? Who do you put off them two?
I'm going to put Alex.
You put Alex over Morbidelli, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right then.
So, and they're both riding the GP24.
Because the thing, I'm surprised you said that, because most people think Morbidelli is better than Alex.
I don't agree with that. I don't think.
I don't. But if you speak, they think Morbidelli is just. I think Alex is the better rider.
I think a minority of people would put. And again, this is, and again, hold on, hear me out. I think a minority would put Morbidelli over Alex. And even if a majority did that, again, it goes back to what our original talking point a couple of weeks ago, where we said Alex is paying the price of being Marc's brother. Because again, they're thinking he shouldn't be there because he doesn't have the pace or whatever it is to be in MotoGP. He's just there because he's Marc's brother. Disregarding the fact that the guy's a 2-time world champion.
And no matter how long it took him to
right. So Morbidelli is only ever won what? One Moto2 championship?
Yeah. And he did challenge, kind of somewhat distantly challenge for a MotoGP championship.
Yeah, when he was on the Petronas, I think it's the Petronas Yamaha with Fabio.
So
Right?
you
I think
rank
it
him.
was
You rank Alex above
yeah.
Morbidelli.
I think
Okay,
Alex is a
cool.
much and again it's not something that should be even be debated.
Hey man, you'd be surprised, right?
So
So
again, Alex is not on a better bike. He's on the bike that won the championship handily last year. Ducati has won 20 straight races.
yeah, you're
20
right.
straight. Name. Again, I put out a tweet this week where I mentioned something about Rossi, right? When Rossi left, when they moved to the V4 in 2000 and, oh God, was it 2002? 2002, because he jumped off the Honda in 2003 and went to Yamaha. So when the first year of the V4s, that Honda, the RC211V that Rossi was on, was light years better than everybody else. And not even they won that many races in a row.
Yeah, the Ducati, this Ducati is this Ducati thing is crazy.
Ducati literally, and as in the tweet I even mentioned it, they're not just dominating it from the factory team standpoint. They're doing it even with the satellite team. Because again, if you go back to that Rossi era, remember you had the HRC Honda, you had the West Honda with Alex Barros and Loris Caparossi. You had what's that? What's that Spanish Telefonica Honda
Telefonica
with
with
I think
Sete Gimeno.
Sete Gimeno, and I think it was it Melange was his teammate as well. I believe it was Melange was his teammate, or I can't remember. And I think he also had Fortuna. I'm trying to remember if they were Honda or they were Yamaha. But either way, them factory bikes didn't, even with that
Didn't come
RC211V,
as close
they
as these
didn't come
Ducatis.
20 straight races. Ducati has won 20. If you go back, who was the last
Or
non-Ducati winner?
you can't in the sprints.
Can't sprints. Yeah, who was the
Oh yeah,
last? The last
yeah.
non-Ducati winner, if my memory serves me right, is who?
Kota last year,
Is
Maverick
who?
Vinales.
There
Kota
you
last year,
go.
Maverick Vinales.
That's the last non-Ducati race winner, and you're talking about again. It looks really bad now to the point whereby you're pretty much thinking the top 4, 5, 6 positions, if everybody finishes and has a good race, would be all Ducatis.
Yeah, because that's what would have happened if Marc and Furman Alliger didn't crash. I mean,
I mean,
top 6.
all Ducatis.
You know, I'm gonna wrap up off the. So it's a Peco win, Marc crash, Alex a steady second again. What I'm gonna wrap up on the Alex thing is that I know it's a well dialed in bike, but the thing is as well, if you used to look at Alex on a previous, even if he had a good position, he would ride, and then at the end he would be.
Yeah, again.
So I think he learns out. I think because you remember he got it, but you still got to learn. I think he's better at time management now. I think he's better at managing his pace throughout a race now, right? And then given the bike that he's on now, he just makes that whatever little improvement, personal improvement he made, and now he's on the machine.
Mm-hmm.
He's where he's at, right?
But that's what. But you see, everything ties back into having a good bike, because when he previously, when he was in those positions and he was crashing out, he wasn't on a really good bike. He wasn't on a bike that was dialed in as the GP24. Because again, it's pretty much like a plug and play bike
the
from last year that won.
GP23, because the gap between the 23 and the
24
and the 22 was close. The 23 and the 24 was light years.
Exactly. So
right?
Now he's on a better bike. I think it's easier for him again with that added experience, years of experience, and know where the limit is, and the bike is more predictable for him.
And
makes his performance even that much better.
And maybe he's just hitting his peak, because remember, he's a slow burner too.
Yeah.
Maybe he's hitting his peak.
I mean, he's what, 28?
Yeah, I think he's
28. He was born.
Right. Peco, I think him and Peco are roughly the same age.
He's 1 year older than Peco. I think Peco's 27 and he's 28.
Right. So to run off that part, it's a great win. It's a great comeback by Peco. The opportunity presented itself. He took it, because at the end of the day, probably a Peco fault probably would have been the two. He held his ground. He did it. He did his thing. Now it's 11 point.
And just to kind of like go backwards with that. Again, where did he qualify?
Qualified
Sixth.
sixth.
Where was he in the sprint race? Where was he by turn 1?
First.
The main race, where was he by turn 1?
I'm already in it by turn 1.
Third.
Third.
So
yeah,
you can see that again, which you said it's nothing to do with the bike. I don't agree with that. I think there's more to it. Tardis is not going to tell you that, there was something wrong with the bike. I don't believe that. So you see, psychologically for Peco, and I said this in my tweet, for Peco, this was a good win for him. Yes, he inherited it, but for him, psychologically, it's a good win for him. And if he can build on this, because again, these opening tracks was never his best tracks.
And that's where the issue is. This is the thing why it's so, because I want to wrap up off this, because there's more stuff this is one of the things as well. The problem for when you which is what I always say, the person that beats Marc Marquez is Marc Marquez, right? Because when you could say this about, well, it's not your track. There's no track on the calendar that Marc won't perform.
That's true. Well, we see when they get to Qatar.
So Marc has always performed at Qatar.
Has he ever won in Qatar?
Once.
Okay. Well, how many times has Peco won in Qatar?
I'm not sure. But that's not what I'm looking at. I'm like, the thing is, when Marc is at a bad track, he's on the podium. That's the difference, right?
Well, I mean, you can say that Peco, he's been on the podium in every race except for I'm talking
about historically.
Mm-hmm.
When before the injuries and all that stuff and Honda went south, Marc having bad days is a podium, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the odd fourth or fifth year, right? And so that's where it becomes really difficult. You really have to be on your A game to really beat him over a season. And so for Peco to win this championship, he's going to have to ride as he's never ridden before, right? And which is what I'm looking for. I want to see. So even though the gap opened, I'm like, wow, clawing it back now. Let's see if he could peg that, or let's see if he gives Marc the opportunity to reopen that gap again, right? Let's see how that goes on.
Well, he has to build, like I said, he has to build on this momentum now because it was a good result for him. And I think even if he hadn't won the race, I think he would have still looked at it as a positive because, again, he finally beat one of the Marquezes.
Yeah, Kota wasn't a really good stamp. And that's the thing with this weekend, right? The only person, despite him crashing, the only person that of them three that it was going to farm was Marc. It's not a good stamping ground for Alex either, right? And it's not a good stamping ground for Peco.
Fabio DJ Antonio looked good the entire weekend.
No, I'm saying the top three. I'm talking about the top three right now. Like just those like Peco, Alex it was never a good stamping ground for them, right?
Oh.
I think that's where I think Kota was one of them where Peco had chased down Alex one year. I think when was it? Was it 2018? I think it's 2018. I need to check back those results when Alex Moto2 they were in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Peco chased down Alex. I think Alex was leading.
Because they did mention that in commentary that
they did mention it. Yeah, because I was there that race.
Yeah,
that's when I almost caught Martin's glove when Martin won that race and he threw his glove. But yeah, good result for Peco. Alex Marquez consistency is still coming through. And but yeah, before we wrap off MotoGP, not even wrap because we still got a few more things we got to talk about. But the funny thing, right? I'm not sure what they were saying on commentary. I did see a bit of stuff on Twitter. When the whole thing happened with Marc running off the grid, right? So just as I was there, so I could tell you what happened. I was in the grandstands when it happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard commentary in a few other places. Hey, it looks bad for the sport. Da 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 da. No, it's not. Everyone was laughing. It's a show, right? I don't know why people are taking it so serious. It's a show, and that was funny. Everyone started out laughing not when Marc ran off. The fun part was when Peco saw what happened. It's like they threw hot water on Peco's seat.
He just jumped off and started.
Peco legged it. So and it was just it was comedy gold, right? We at the track, we enjoyed it. We were just laughing like,
Yeah,
that's
but
funny.
this is
Right?
why. Here's why there were a lot of people weren't too happy with that,
Yeah,
because Aguera, I can't pronounce his name properly. I
I
think
agree.
two other riders had gambled on slicks.
Raul Fernandez.
I can't remember who the third person was. I'd gambled on six. So had they started the race,
And I think Bastianini.
yeah. So had they started the race as planned, right? Mark probably wouldn't have won that race.
Yeah. Yeah, we know that. Because the rules, they misunderstood the rules.
Oh no! What rules did they misunderstood?
So you know what he did, right?
Yeah, they said if it's basically like a ride through penalty, he would have
So no,
gotten and elected
but,
to start in the pit
but
lane.
what he misjudged it as was, I think he misjudged it as if he switched the bike, he would
Mm-hmm.
start at pit lane,
Mm-hmm.
right, and continue as normal. But I think the rules are, no, you could switch, you come back around and take your regular starting position, then you have to serve a ride through penalty,
Ride through penalty.
which is worse.
Okay.
So what they misinterpreted the rules, but what saved them was the fact that
More than
9
10
of the riders
riders.
ran off
Yeah.
and then it became a safety issue from what Mike Webb is saying, right?
Yeah.
But it was comedy gold. It was funny. I'm sure it's going to be one of them clips that's going to be showed
Yeah,
like all the
because
time. It was just, and
if you
I
look
know
on,
people were saying they're upset, but ultimately, this is what I always say to folks: it's a sport, and there are rules, and with everything in life, there are rules, and there's always loopholes, and that's how rules get tighter and tighter, right? And when you're a competitor, every rule that's there, if you see, whereas it's got a gray area, even happen in F1, everyone exploits the gray areas until they be like, well, we gotta close that.
but the question I have to ask
Right?
is, why was it deemed a danger if less than 10 riders on
No,
the grid?
Mike Webb said there was too much people like in the pit lane. People was coming off the grid. He said it was just too chaotic, and that's a risk that they didn't want to take.
I don't understand that, because again, when everybody leaves all the mechanics and everyone leaves the grid, okay, you have the empty grid slots.
Yeah, but he's
Everybody,
worried about the people. All these barrage of bike with still people, camera people, everyone's still in the pit lane. And then you got these bikes barrel down to go get to the end. So he said he saw it as a safety issue and just stopped the race and just issued a restart.
but is it again? Oh, so you're saying then it's not in the rules that they had to start the race, do that. He only did that because of.
Yeah.
So in the actual rules, if there wasn't that issue with
They started the race. They would have started
they
the
would have
race.
actually started. They would have done actually like a Lewis in Hungary
So,
2021 with only 9 bikes or 10 bikes on the grid, whatever it is, and then the other not 10 bikes would be in the pit lane waiting for the race to start.
I guess, or they would have did the warm up lap, took their position, and then they would have to take a ride through penalty.
Okay. But again, yeah. And again, that's why a lot of people were kind of a bit annoyed with it, because people had took a gamble. Again, the likes of Aguera, Bastianini, and what is it, Raul Fernandez took that gamble. And because of that move, their gamble didn't pay off.
Yeah,
So it
so
cost them the possibility of a much better result than what they had.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying to you. It's about exploiting the rules. So now they just got to figure out how to close it so it doesn't happen again.
They didn't. It wasn't because of exploiting the rules.
No, I'm saying to you, that was the idea when Marc ran off the track. They would have been screwed because they misinterpreted the rule, right? But so what I'm saying to you, ultimately, even if those guys had started, right, the rest of the guys would have to take a ride through penalty.
Yeah, so then it wasn't really a loophole then, again,
Right.
because the only reason why they went with the restart is, like you said, the race director felt like there was too many people in the pit lane, and it was going to be a safety issue. So,
Oh yeah, because ultimately what happened is that the guys that ran off the grid behind Marc, that's what actually saved the whole thing. Because now if it was just him, he would have ended up with a ride-through penalty.
Which he
But
probably
because
then, which is almost guaranteed.
so it's just a misinterpretation of the rules.
Yeah,
He misinterpreted. He thought it was a matter of I could switch back last minute, start at the back of the grid, and then continue the race, and that wasn't.
But for Marc misinterpreting the rules, that's fine. Him and everybody else, that's fine. But the rules itself wasn't actually, there was no loophole that was exploited.
Oh yeah. When you look at
because it was
a misinterpretation of the rules, I should say.
Yeah, but
it was misinterpreted.
But what Marc misinterpreted didn't really affect the race. It's not that affected the race. It's the fact that the race director decided, well, you know what? I don't think this is safe. If the race director said, all right, carry on as per usual, then Marc and everybody else, Peco and all of them, would have gotten a ride-through penalty.
Yeah.
I mean, because again, they switch bikes.
And ultimately, the way I look at it, man, is you cannot be mad at it in terms of like calling for the restart, because it could have gone another way. Whereas like if they did and then someone got knocked over, and then it would have been like, hey, why didn't y'all take safe? You know what I'm saying?
So yeah,
you always have to err on the side of caution.
In that regards, I understand that part. I understand, and in some ways, again, you can see why the likes of
you can see why people were upset.
Because again, you took this was their opportunity. These guys could have ended up on the podium.
Yeah, because the reason why I'm trying to clear this up a little bit, obviously there's people that are more professional than me that knows more about it. But the reason why I'm trying to clear is because when you see online, people are thinking like what Marc did was cheating. I'm like, no, he screwed himself basically. The people who don't understand, he screwed himself.
Yeah.
Right.
And everybody else who followed him basically screwed themselves. So they basically got bailed out by the fact that the mechanics and everyone was. And again, this is what I don't understand. Because when Marc and everyone started to run off the grid, they hadn't actually started the countdown sequence for the formation lap. Because Marc, I think it was during the national anthem.
That's what I think he timed it like 3 seconds.
3 minutes. He said 3 minutes.
Before, so they were about to pull, everyone should be sitting on your bike. So they're about to pull the tire warmers and everything off for them to go get the warm-up lap. So he timed it down to like seconds. Then he ran off the grid. So did you see Alex's interview about it?
No.
Yo, you gotta see. It's funny, yo. It was just, it's comedy gold, bro. It is what it is. Alex said he looked and he saw. So Peco was like, I saw Marc and he wasn't on his bike. So I'm thinking like, you know. Then he said he saw Mike hot-footed. So he was like, yo, I'm out. Then Alex said he's looking and he see Marc and he's like, oh, I'm thinking he left like his earplugs or something. And then he saw Marc and he saw Peco and he was like, okay, I'm going with them too. Digi and Antonio, his mechanic was saying, stay. Digi was like, nah, they're gone. I'm going too. So it was just funny, bro.
Yeah, he just followed.
It's funny, bro. It was
comedy
gold. The grandstand was laughing. Yeah, it was funny. It was funny.
I didn't really have an issue with it, to be honest, because again, like you say, it was more down to safety why that decision was made.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can understand why other people were a bit annoyed, because again, it cost those three guys a possibility of a podium finish, because a Trackhouse bike has never finished on the podium, has it?
No.
It would have been a good result for them. And again, Raul Fernandez has never been on the podium.
He needs a result.
Yeah. So,
because the thing is, I don't want to go off on Raul because he's not on our list of topics here, but I just want him to get, because I think he's got the talent. I just don't know what's going on. But yeah, so to move on from the win, the top three, congrats to Digi and Antonio as well. Great ride. You know, he's still coming back from his injuries and all that stuff. So I want to see when he's up to speed if he could throw some span in the works as well, right? Yeah. Man, Bezzecchi had a nut. I'm there and I'm seeing Bezzecchi, and every time he goes out, something wrong happens.
But but where did he finish? I think he had a good finish.
Yeah, he finished good in the end, but
in the race itself for him wasn't actually a bad wasn't a bad race. He actually had a good race. Let me bring up the results for that
He finished
race.
sixth.
There you go. And where did he
Finished.
where did he qualify?
It was a good race for him. It six is for the weekend he was having. Six is great,
Hmm? There you go. So it
right?
wasn't
And
really, so the grand scheme of things, it wasn't really that bad a weekend for him.
it was crazy. And then I saw you put it out. So the reason why, from my understanding, why, because I saw you said, "Oh, Jack Miller probably need to get it together."
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to remember, Fabio didn't race with his main bike,
Yeah, that's
and
still not an
you know,
excuse.
the bike that he raced had a lot of stuff that the bike he raced had different, I think, different swing arm. He had a few things on it, so it was just, remember, it crashed going to the grid.
Yeah, but
So he raced a whole
okay.
different bike. He
Yeah,
raced a
but
whole different bike.
the problem with that for me is that's not a good enough excuse, because you'd like your number one and your number two bike to be pretty much identical to each other. Because
Not
again,
really.
if they had not
You
declared, if they had not, hold on, if they had not declared it a wet race of wet race, flag to flag race, right? That means they'd have to come in at some point and change a bike, right?
Yeah, yeah. So which is why in these type of conditions, I don't think it would make sense for your bikes to be identical.
But then why would you go with a swing arm and parts on your number two bike that you're not happy with?
No, because remember, so you got to remember, the wet bike and the dry bike are almost two different bikes, right?
Mhm.
Suspension, adjust, everything about it is different, right? When he crashed the bike that he was supposed to race with, right, and then they just had to switch to the next bike, it just turned out to be just a messy race for him because he crashed the main bike. I'm not sure why the other bike had other stuff. I do not know. I'm not
Exactly, which is
about it,
uh,
right? But you can't have them
raises more.
identical in a situation where it could be flag to flag. You can't have them because guess why? It's either the situation is going to be wet at some point. It's going to be so the bike got to be different.
Yeah, but the main difference they probably have between the two would be suspension setting. If it's a wet race, one,
Electronics and the
yeah,
other
but
thing.
the electronics, I mean, they can program the electronics. I mean, that shouldn't,
You
again,
would
the
think, but
electronics
it's
would
not.
be like, it'd be more, probably a less aggressive engine mapping. The suspension might be a bit softer, etc. Okay, I can get that. But there was enough time. Remember, there was a delay in the start. So even on that number two bike, they could have made some setup changes to that bike during that period of time. If
But
it's
you're
a
missing one
suspension thing.
thing. You're
Mhm.
missing. You don't know the extent of the damage when you crash the bike.
No, I'm talking his number two bike. So if it's a suspension sort of thing, because like I said, the main difference between a wet bike and a dry bike would probably be, again, engine mapping. So it's probably a less aggressive engine mappings they use, which again, these things are already programmed in. So it's a case of, I'm sure they have different mappings on the bike. So it's
Yeah.
just a matter of pressing the button. Okay, if it's a wet race, you're going to go to switch to a wet map. Just like in Formula One, if it's a wet race, you switch to that map. Again, it deals with all of that, your traction control, etc. Your suspension might be a bit softer. And again, because there was a delay, I'm sure they could have actually done something. So
Yeah,
I'm
you would
not,
think, but these guys, there must be a reason as to why. Ultimately, Fabio's performance in the race wasn't a true reflection.
it wasn't good because he
It's
performed well
it's
in
not
the
a true
sprint.
reflection. Yeah, it's
He
not.
had a
It's not
good
a true reflection.
he
So
had a
I'm not
good
really worried about that.
sprint because he finished behind I can never pronounce his name properly.
Agura,
Ogura. He finished behind him and was marginally ahead of who's the second rider for Trackhouse? Oliveira?
Raul Fernandez.
Raul Fernandez. Because he's
Raul.
deputizing for Oliveira, isn't he?
No, Oliveira is Jack Miller's teammate.
Oh yeah. So who rides okay, okay.
So
Yeah.
okay, Oliveira is
I
injured.
remember. My mistake.
Augusta Fernandez is deputized for him this weekend,
Yeah.
running the number 7.
Yeah. So he marginally finished ahead of the second Trackhouse bike.
All
So,
right.
and right now, I'm perplexed by Yamaha, because remember when we did the first one podcast, and we're talking about the testing in Malaysia. The Yamaha looked good. It looked like, they've made a massive step and they're now the next best team behind the Ducatis. Right now, I don't even know where they are. I don't even think they're better than the KTMs.
Oh, Yamaha.
Yeah, they're not better than the KTMs. Well, the KTMs in
Uh,
Pedro Acosta's hand, and it's not better than the Aprilia. Forget the Aprilia. It's not even better than the Honda. Have you seen the
oh, it's
Honda
not
in the
better than
last
Honda.
two?
The Honda. So you
Dude,
know what?
both Hondas were in front of all three Hondas. Actually, all four Hondas were in front of Fabio. Luca Marini, what's his name? Jean Alex Rins, and Johan Zarco. Who's the other Honda?
Because there's Mir, there not Rins. Rins is right Honda. There's Mir, there's
Mir,
Luca Marini,
Luca Marini,
Zarco, and
Zarco.
the Sankhya Chantra.
Well, yeah, he wasn't ahead of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was
he's on the Idemitsu
in the midst.
Honda. So he was pretty much, yeah. So that's the only Honda that wasn't in front of Fabio. Look at how the Hondas. I mean, there was in
Honda
the
took a bigger step this season
yeah, because
than Yamaha.
they read out a stat in qualifying. I swear to you, I laughed when I heard it. That was the first time back-to-back races a Honda. You had both. That was I think it was the first time you had both factory Hondas make it straight into Q1 since I think they saw within the last 2 years.
Both of them didn't make it straight through.
Marini made it through.
Luca had to go the long way.
Yeah, and I mean they
Oh,
both
you
were
mean
in
made it
Q.
there? But
Yeah,
okay, got it. Okay,
it was the first time the factory Hondas made it into that since Marc was there.
crazy, right?
So, you see the step, and you could see that Honda have made progress when you go back to Argentina. Look how well the Yamaha right now. I'm scratching my head and I'm thinking, at some point Fabio is going to look at this and think to himself, I should have left this team ages ago. I should have renewed my contract. Because I'm sure had he decided not to renew his contract, he would have been on one of these Ducatis.
Which one you think?
Again, he probably could have been Alex's teammate. I don't see him in the VR46 setup. So it's very likely he could have been on he could have ended up being Jorge Martin's teammate if he had moved when
I
he
mean,
when he
in
when he
Pramac,
renewed that yeah, he would have been on that Pramac Ducati if he had moved when he was supposed to move rather than renew the contract. But again, I mean they paid him handsomely. He's already won a world championship. They can't take that from him. And he's getting paid a ton of money at Yamaha. So in some ways, financially, he's looking at like, yeah, I'm good. But from a competitive standpoint, he's probably looking at this like, yeah, this is not good because I'm still, 5 years only, 20 something?
yeah,
He's still young. But he's looking at this now like, yeah, what's going on? And you have to ask the question again. I believe this is the second year of the concessions for Yamaha. Right? Yeah, this is the
yeah, I
second
think
year
again.
because they had it last year. And I think this year they have way more concessions than they had last year because they were terrible last year. So they got a whole heap more concessions. I think they can bring more. I think they have one or two more era changes. They can use more engines. They now can test more than any other team, and they have more tires to do testing with. So they have a larger concession compared to the others. But where's the progress?
It's
When
rough.
are we gonna see this? Because again, remember we had this discussion. They're changing bikes in 2027. So you have all of these concessions. If 2026 comes and there's no progress, then what? They still haven't brought out their V4 engine. When is that coming? And again, by the time that comes, 2027, they've moved down to what, 850s.
Yeah.
What's going on? Yeah, I thought the problem was Lynn Jarvis. He's gone. I guess this is just a trickle down effect from his
Remnants.
time in the team.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can't really, because Lynn Jarvis gave them a lot of championships, so you can't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but at the same
people would
time,
call you crazy.
Lynn Jarvis also was too Rossi-esque. He didn't he wasn't paying attention to what the Ducatis were doing. They were late to the party. If you look, Ducatis were the ones that started to bring all of these aero devices to bikes, right? And Yamaha stayed. Yeah, if you look at the Yamaha, even if you look at a Yamaha now and you compare it to a 2009 or the championship winning Yamaha that Fabio won, they don't look that dissimilar.
Yeah. This is kind of off the topic as well, but I have to speak about this guy, man.
Who?
What's up with Joan Mir? He cannot finish a race to save his life.
And he was in good point scoring position.
This guy keeps. So let me, because I'm always like, okay, Luca Marini's okay. I don't think he's done a lot for
It's
me
not
to
pulling
give
up
it
trees.
right. However, he's finishing races.
Well, that's been Mir's problem. He's a crash bandit now. He's turned into a
Luca
crash
Marini's
bandit.
Luca Marini's 10th in the championship.
Yeah, Jordan Mir's become a crash bandit because he
Because I
won
get
the.
it when you could say, "Hey, we have to push," but then when you're developing a bike, you need the info, you need the data,
Mhm.
and but Luca Marini being the one bringing home the finishes, and then you're crashing out. They need all that data, bro. Finish the race.
And again, he was running in a strong position because I think where was he? He was ahead of. I'm sure he was ahead of Bezecchi at one point in the race.
The guy just keeps crashing.
Well,
Like
didn't I
bring
say?
home the motorcycle. You if you're trying to get back to the front, you need to finish the races. You need
Yeah,
to
I
bring home
think
the data. You're in data mining mode right now.
Sean Mir's opportunity to get back to the front of the grid has gone. That's not going to happen. Honda is where it is for me. If it doesn't work out, Honda, he's going to end up probably in World Superbikes.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy?
Hmm.
Pedro Acosta, right? So Bastianini, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who was having a nightmare in qualifying. Was never a great qualifier, but he knows how to ride through the field. Someone heard one of who was it? One of the guys on one of the other podcasts said Bastianini will be perfect for endurance racing.
True. Because he gets quick as the race goes on.
So let me ask you this. So tell me why is Bastianini and Pedro Acosta on the same amount of points, bro?
Because Pedro Acosta problem is the same thing as um is it Mir or Rins? Which one we were
Mir?
talking about? Mir.
Mir?
It's the same as him. They crash a lot. And I
Because he's
remember I said it to you. Remember I said it to you. I think two episodes ago that if Pedro Acosta keeps crashing like how he's been crashing,
yeah.
he might not be in MotoGP for too long, despite his talent. Because again, he crashes too much.
That's bold though, bro.
Dude,
It's his second year. That's bold.
it's his second year and it's the same issue.
That's bold. But because the thing, you can't disregard that the bike is giving him issues as well. I get it.
Again,
Because it's probably gonna. Because I literally just said Mir needs to bring home the bike, and then I'm
mhm.
gonna say, well, I guess I'm looking at like Mir's more experience. He's a former world champion. This guy's a rookie who's in his second year, still trying to find his way, right? So I
He's
guess
had
I'm not
more,
gonna put that.
but he's had more crash this season than Aguero.
Yeah,
Who's the rookie?
yeah, you're right.
So
Is
again,
it? Yeah, it's a tough one. He's in a tough
and
spot, but I don't
and
think he's. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon.
well, true, because Neil Hodgson
Yeah,
mentioned in commentary that thing you spoke about a couple episodes ago, that there's rumors that he might end up on a Ducati. And Neil Hodgson was saying, like, you know, Pedro probably can't wait to get off that KTM.
yeah, obviously.
But again, my problem with that is he needs, before you get off that KTM, you have to show people that you're not a crash bandit.
And because the thing is, the reason why Brad Binder is highly rated, right?
Doesn't
Is
crash as much.
and even though Pedro is an upstart, but Brad Binder just knows the bike isn't great, but he just knows to drag it around the track. And which is why when you talk about, if you want to be in the great conversation of the greats,
Hmm.
right? You're gonna have to, you're gonna have to be able to do stuff like that, things like that,
Yeah. I mean, points
right?
wins championship, right?
Right? Yeah.
Points wins championships. And at some point, you're going to have to learn, like, you know what? Today is not a good day. Let me bag as many points as I possibly can. Because despite Fabio being on a dog of a Yamaha, how often does Fabio crashes out of a race? Not much.
Not often.
So even if he even if he doesn't score a point,
He
nine
brings it
times out
home.
of 10, he's going to bring the bike home. But you're not doing that. And again, what you find with Pedro is when he crashes out, it's from strong positions.
Yeah.
He's not crashing out when he's like 15, 16. He's crashing out when he's like in the top 10, top 5, top 6. That's when he's crashing out. And you're like, yo, dude, come on.
Yeah.
Because when he crashed out on Sunday, they were talking about him like, his riding style and how quick he, and then 2 minutes later, oh, Pedro Acosta's crashed out. And you're like, oh God, water is wet.
Yeah. It's yeah, the second season.
Look, man,
The bike is a handful, but it's more like when Bastianini was having a nightmare, is equal on points as the guy.
it
Does it
again.
look good?
He crashes too much, and other teams are looking at that. They will. Is he fast? Absolutely.
Of
But if
course.
you can't stay on the bike, being fast is useless.
Because the problem is, if you go to like a Ducati and it's the same issue, where do you go from there?
Which is my point. If he carries on like this, he's not going to be in the sport for much longer. You know what it reminds me of? Oh God, I don't want to cross them, but Michael Ruben Rinaldi, right, was on a factory Ducati in the
Ducati, yeah.
Aruba IT team with Bautista as his teammate. That boy crashed so much. You know where he's riding now? He left the Aruba IT factory team, and I think he went to an independent Ducati team. My man is in was super sport and stinking of the place. But Ruben Rinaldi was quick, but his problem was he crashes too much.
Yeah,
You
they're
don't want
gonna.
that for Pedro.
Listeners are probably like, did you just mention Ruben Rinaldi in the same? However,
True, but the
we've seen.
point,
But ultimately, the point is, you got fast riders. He's won 2 championships, right? Cool. So, but yeah, you gotta,
you have to stay on the bike. You
yeah, you
can't
gotta
be
stay on the bike.
fast and crashing again. No, no, you already know how to go fast. You just need to learn to stay on the bike and know when you say, okay, let me just take the points. I don't need to risk, especially when you know it's a bike that can bite you at any given time.
Exactly. It's but let's see. As I said, I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. I think
He's going to be on a Ducati next year. I have a feeling
next year.
he could. Yeah,
Next year,
because
Oh,
we still don't know how the KTM.
contract cycles don't.
Yeah, but we
I
still
think
don't know how the KTM situation is going to pan out next year.
I think they're going to be there. I think
Well,
they're going to be there.
if they are, then more likely he's still going to be there. But then 2027, he's going to be jumping on another bike for
Because next year is
2027.
26. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so next year is when they start talking about the contracts of the new cycle. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be new cycle, new regulations, and riders is going to be are going to be all over the place.
Yeah, and it was also on a side note, it's kind of good to see Jorge Martin in the pit lane
Yeah,
as well.
it was good to see him the other day. Yeah,
Because I think we know he's better than Bezecchi, and I think he get more out of that Aprilia than what Bezecchi's getting out of it. So I'm looking
Mm.
forward to see when he finally comes back what he can do on that bike, because it's going
yeah.
to be very interesting. Because if he can start getting amongst the Ducatis, then you know that Bezecchi was basically it's not utilizing the machine he has.
So let me ask you this: do you strongly feel that Martin could put that Aprilia amongst the Ducatis, especially amongst the factory Ducatis?
Which one of the factory Ducati? Boy, you're talking the Red Boys?
Yeah,
No chance. No chance.
I,
Absolutely no chance whatsoever.
I think I think once they get well into the season and things get dialed in, if Alex keeps doing what he's doing and is showing this type of consistency and pace, and Digia gets up to speed, dialed in, fully fit, I think even with Martin and the Aprilia, is going to be fifth at best.
Yeah, he's not getting nowhere. He's not
And
getting.
and if Furman shows the type of form that he showed in Kota, where he's dialed in on that machine as well,
Mm. Look, I don't see no other bikes getting anywhere near the Ducatis, be it factory or customers. Let's be honest, because the four customer bikes are 2024 championship winning bikes. They're no slouch, and they're not that far off from the GP25.
yeah, they said they're running at GP 24.9.
They're
Not even
not
at
that far.
25, they say.
They're not even that far off the factory boys. So I can't see anybody. Again, it would take
You take a lot of things. You take really bad.
exactly
It would
crashes
take
and so on.
crashes.
On
I don't
pure
think in
pace,
pure pace now. I don't see
the
it.
six Ducatis are the best bikes on the grid. Easily. Is it six?
Yeah, in pure
Six.
pace. I don't see that. I don't see
Yeah,
that going
six.
on.
Easily the best bike. And again, MotoGP have a problem
In terms of Ducati,
because it's just one team dominating the sport. Absolutely one team. Again, it's not a case of like, you get the odd win from an odd manufacturer here or there. You don't see where you can't see where another team is going to come in and beat one of those Ducatis.
off pace. Well, we only have let's call it a season and a bit until the regulations change,
And
right?
again,
Because there's going to be a lot of stuff, but we're going to have to speak on that whole thing on a whole different episode. Whereas, like with new tires, a lot of
Pirelli coming in.
and a
God
lot of
help them.
the launch device is going to the lower ride out device is going to be going. A lot of stuff is going to be going,
You know
right?
what?
So
This could be what resets it for Yamaha.
yeah,
Because where Ducati have everyone else beat, it's because again Ducati was the first that came in to launch the ride-out devices, so they had that well dialed in. They were the first ones to come in with the whole era thing. Because I remember when they first came in with it, and you're like, "Yo, what the hell? That looks terrible." But no, every bike's going down that route, so they pretty much have that head start on everybody.
so someone
And
said I think it was Matt Oxley that tweeted a photo and said the rear of the Ducati where the camera sits with the little wings on the back
mm,
looks like something out of the new Star Wars movie. And when I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, it looks like one of those Star Wars flying ships.
there you go. So again, 2027 could be the reset for the likes of Yamaha, because I don't see Yamaha winning or Honda winning anything this year or next year. They're not winning a damn thing. They'd be
Yeah,
lucky if they get on the podium. And this hurts me because I'm a Fabio guy, and I said it in the preseason show that I think the Yamaha can get on the podium on pure pace. I don't think that's the case anymore.
yeah,
It's going to take an absolute miracle.
yeah. Yeah. Ducati domination continues.
And you have to,
And
and just I know we're dragging this on a bit, but at the same time, you have to applaud Ducati because what they did was they even employed people from Formula One to come in
yeah,
and
and not
work
only
with
that.
them.
And the reason why I'm not mad at the old Ducati domination or Ducati dominance is that when they were in the trenches, they were in the trenches for years. So why can't they win for years?
And again, they
You know?
benefited from the concessions as well. That's what led them to where they are now.
Yeah. So it is what it is. They were in the trenches. They were the laughing stock for a little while. So they got the
Because
maestro Gigi in, and they employed the right people, and they did their thing. Now they're winning. They're reaping the benefits of all those years that they struggled.
yeah, and you have to take your hat because again, we've never. I could be wrong. I'd have to go and check this out, but I don't think we've ever seen a one manufacturer dominate the championship like this. 20 straight races. And looking at the season so
Rough.
far, they're going to whitewash the whole season. We've never seen a season where one manufacturer has won every single race.
Because the way it's set up now, if one of the leaders leading Ducati's crash, there's going to be another Ducati that step
You
it
have
up.
4 behind them.
Marc crash, Peco steps up. There's a
Peco
possibility if
crash,
Peco and Marc crash, Alex steps up. If
Alex
they
crash,
crash
you're
out,
going to have who behind him?
DG
DG,
and you never know
Frankie.
when Furman come up to speed, right? Yeah, it's tough.
They're literally making
The
MotoGP
whole
look.
Ducati, the old Ducati lineup would have to crash for someone to get a shot.
And that's not going to happen. I want to see if they're going to do a manufacturer does what Red Bull almost did in 23, win every single race.
Let's see.
And I'm going to put up a tweet and I'm going to put a poll and I want to see what the vote is going to be. I'm going to put it through or
The Grand Prix Project Pod.
or
X.
Twitter
Yeah,
page
let's do it.
and see what happens, because I have a funny feeling Ducati going to win every single race this year. And if that happens, everyone in MotoGP is going to like, yo, what the? Yeah, this can't happen. And
Because
the funny thing is, and this is where MotoGP differs from Formula One. Formula One would step in and try and change the rules to stop a dominant team being dominant. There's literally nothing MotoGP can do right now to stop it.
yeah, because
Nothing.
yeah, because I guess the difference is with MotoGP compared to that is like what we just said. You got the Lenovo team, but there's a possibility the Gresini team probably could win a race. The VR46 team possibly could win a race as well. Even though they're Ducati as the manufacturer, yeah, it's but bear in mind they're bust down in different teams.
And you have to remember, those same factory customer teams have won MotoGP races on Ducatis.
Yeah.
So it's not like they can't do it. They've shown that they can do it.
Yeah.
Because didn't Bez win a race on that Ducati?
Yeah, basically won 3 races on a Ducati. Alex Marquez won sprint. Marquez won 3.
Alex won the sprint in Qatar. Was it
Um,
last year? I think he won a race. I think
so the winners on factory Ducati, I could tell you they are. So it's Bezecchi.
no, forget the factories, customer.
The customer. So it's Bezecchi,
Alex
Gigi and Antonio,
and Alex.
Marc Marquez, Alex,
and Alex. There you go.
and Martin. We're forgetting Martin.
And Martin. There you go.
Right.
So you look at
and Zarco.
And so
Philip
there you
Island.
go. So you look at it, you realize even if as you said, even if the factory boys aren't there, there's four more Ducatis that you know are going to win. One of the four will win that race.
So yeah, Qatar is the next one up. Let's see how that one goes.
Watch Peco fly in Qatar, dude. Well,
Yeah,
let's wait.
let's move on to briefly the other two categories.
Yeah,
Moto
but
two,
what did you rate the MotoGP race on a scale
the
one?
MotoGP race.
Mm.
In terms of chaos, a 10. In terms of the race overall, I'll give it a 7.5.
Ooh, that's a lot. I ain't giving it that much.
I give it a 7.5.
Give it a 6. I give it a solid 6 because it was pretty much processional until Marc crashed, and then even after Marc crashed, it was somewhat processional because they didn't really show us much of the action in the mid pack. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
TV
So
direction need to get it together.
yeah, so it was pretty much. I'll give it a solid 6,
Yeah,
and that's it.
and I gave it a 7.5 because I actually like the Peco win what it did to the championship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of so let me explain that big so we could go to Moto 2. The reason why I said I didn't want Mark to crash for Peco to get a lifeline, right? But it happened. He took the opportunity. Based on his words, he's found something, right? You think he's found that? That's what we were saying.
Mm-hmm.
I said I don't believe it. You said you do. Cool. So now that he got that lifeline, let's see what happens.
Yep, that's what I'm
Let's
saying.
see if Mark opens up that wound again and then see what's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now, because now what we don't want to say is that what we didn't want to happen is Mark to win this race, push it to 41, right? And then even
Was
if
it been
Pecco wins a couple
41?
races,
Was it 41? It would have been 42. Been 42.
whatever,
Yeah.
over 40,
Yeah.
right? And then throughout the rest of the season, Mark could really, could take a second place here, could win a sprint, become a second, go a second in the race, and be more manage the championship,
Calculated.
right? So now that he's lost that advantage, and even because if it had went that way and then Mark finished at the end of the championship, it's because Pecco didn't find the sweet spot at the beginning of the season, and that's why he won the championship. So now that Pecco said he found it, he's good. Let's go right to the end. Let's see who is the champ at the end of the at the end of the season.
Which is why I said, which is why I also said I'm kind of. This might be a good win for Pecco. Now let's see how he develops for the remainder of the season because it boosts his confidence. Yeah, he didn't win it on pure pace, but a win is a win. You're not going to disregard. You're not going to
Yeah,
say, "Oh, I'm
of
not going
course,
to
a win
take
is
it."
a win.
So
You can't say that.
it's good.
Anyone who says
It's
it differently, a
definitely
win
going to
is a
be
win.
interesting. What is it? Qatar is what next weekend?
Yeah.
Next weekend. Oh God, the same week as Formula One. Damn it. So let's see how he performs next weekend because they were saying that these tracks aren't really his sort of tracks. So when we get to places like Qatar and what's that after Qatar? Hold on, let me just check. So you have Qatar, then you have Spain, which is kind of like a stop because he pretty much, he dominated Mark in Spain last year, where he put some moves on Mark, and then you have places like France, and then the Cathedral Silverstone. That's going to be an interesting one, and then Aragon. So yeah, let's see it goes. Let's see if Pecco can actually build on his good fortune. If he can't, and Mark reopens, as he said, reopens that wound, he can then pretty much call the season done and dusted. Done and dusted, probably by halfway mark.
Because the thing is, right now, right? I would never call a season in MotoGP.
Yeah, we
I've been
remember what happened with
so
Fabio.
that part, right? I would never call a season in MotoGP. Doesn't even if it's Marc Marquez. I'll never call a season to win that last flag
Yes,
twice.
you can.
I rate Mark highly, but this is motorcycle racing.
Yeah, but I think unless it with the removal of bad luck or crashes, I think you can call it.
That's MotoGP wrapped up.
Yeah, let's touch
Yeah, I
on
know.
Moto 2 and Moto 3 quickly.
Yeah,
And
Jake Dixon. Remember I said to you that Jake Dixon, and I say if he could stay consistent, he probably could get a championship,
mm-hmm.
right? He showed some class this weekend.
Yeah, back-to-back
Kudos to him.
wins.
And I did tweet it out. How the hell did Manuel Gonzalez's team allow him to take such a risk leading the champ whilst leading the championship?
Yeah, that I think everybody in that team should be fired. the
That was
worst, and the
crazy. When I
worst,
saw he's in slicks, I'm like, whoa,
and you know the worst part about
that's
it.
a bad idea.
You know the worst part about it. They ran the whole entire race on that tire. They were literally at one point like 20 seconds a lap slower.
Let me ask you this: when was the last time you saw anyone got lapped in any MotoGP race of any category?
Years. Not even what's his name? Sancho Chantra has gotten
Sankia.
lapped. Sankia has gotten lapped. But this dude, look, that was a stupid mistake from him and his team. And the bigger problem for me is the fact that they didn't say, you know what, come in, change bikes, and let's see what we can salvage from here. They
No, it
ran the
would make a
race.
difference. It would make a
I
difference
I don't I don't know.
because you cannot change bikes. They only got one bike.
Change the tires.
Yeah, that's going to take long.
Okay, fine. People crash
That's
out.
he he was it was dead and gone from they made that decision. That was doomsday.
Yeah, but people crash out of races. You never know what could have happened. You still could have tried and salvaged something, but yeah, that was not a smart decision. If you're leading the championship and you look outside and you see, go with, yo,
Go with what the weather tells you, bro.
if it's raining, it's kind of like they had a Ferrari moment.
Yeah, and Jake Dixon just took that and just dominated.
I mean, he never looked like he was going to lose that race or the
Yeah,
entire
boy,
weekend.
he showed up like so. If Jake Dixon can actually stay consistent, keep the speed up, he probably could win a championship.
Yeah.
And he would have done what all
Sam
the other
Lowe's.
Brits before him.
Sam Lowe's. Because Sam
Not
Lowe's
all the
was
time,
on,
Scott Redding as well.
yeah. They were both on that Mark VDS bike.
What is it? All the Brits who came through, well, the beginning, like Sam Lowe's, Scott Redding, all of them rode Mark VDS.
And they've literally done nothing. Right now, Sam Lowe's
Scott did
problem.
challenge one year, but
Yeah,
yeah,
he was never going to win that. Sam Lowe's in Moto 2, his problem was he crashed too much.
crashed too much.
He's in BSB World Superbike now doing the same damn thing.
Still crashing?
Still crashing. So
Jake Dixon has a tendency to crash too.
yeah.
However,
that was last year.
This year he's doing his thing. He's come good and he just needs to stay consistent. And if he could maintain the speed throughout the season, he should win a championship.
Let's see what happens because the likes of Aaron Canet is still there.
And
Canet
it's like what they would say about the old Peco thing. Once you get to these European tracks, then the whole thing could change.
And we know
Canet comes alive.
Exactly, and puts a run together, and then boom, he's right back in it again. So let's see what happens.
Right.
Let's see what happens. But it's good to see that Dixon is actually he's taking his opportunities when they arise, and he's not doing it. He's not doing it unlike when others. He's doing it on pure pace because the race in Argentina. Who was on pole? Was it Manuel Gonzalez was on pole?
Yeah.
Took the lead. Never saw him again.
Yeah. So Jake, shout out to Jake. Keep doing your thing. If you could stay consistent, as I said, you should win. You have the potential to win a championship this year. But let's see, as we say, let's see how the European tracks show up because sometimes when these guys from Spain and Italy gets to those European track, it's a whole different type of thing
Yeah,
happens, right?
but the thing is for Jake, he's used to these tracks now, so
Yeah,
I don't think that
you're right.
advantage is really, you
Here
know,
anymore.
there anymore because he knows,
He's ridden them a couple of times. Yeah, you're right.
and I'm sure he's won races at because he won race last year. I
Yeah,
can't
he's won
remember
races
where.
in Europe.
So
Let,
yeah,
let's talk about let's talk about David Alonso. He qualified well this weekend, so he's chipping away.
yeah, I
He's
think
chipping
it's
away.
because he was injured, wasn't he?
Yeah, he came in the season injured.
Yeah, so I think it's taken him some time to get his head around it because his teammate is Holgado, isn't he? And
Yeah,
he's having a good start to his campaign. So I think
no one saw that coming.
true. Everyone thought Alonso would be the guy. We all thought that, but as you said, he's been injured, came into the season injured. So I think it's going to take him. I think it's more year two. You're going to see the best of David Alonso.
Yeah, because they have mentioned the injury because I kind of heard it like
Mm.
on the low. They're not mentioned. They're not using it as an excuse. But I think he had a crash in preseason.
Yeah,
Um, something
I
like
think
that.
year two will be a much better season for him. I think now he's just kind of like getting himself acclimatized, but at the same time, you still have to put some performances that have people stand up and take notice. But again, it's only what the third race. How many
Third
races
race,
they have
yeah,
on the calendar? 22.
20,
Is it 20?
20.
All right, 20. Okay, hold on.
And then you have
Now 22, man.
22 this year.
Yeah,
22,
yeah. Yeah, it was 5, 10, 15, 20, 22 races.
22. What does F1
Yeah.
have? 20,
I think F1 has 24.
24 this year. Okay, so 22.
Hold on, I'll tell you.
So yeah,
I'll tell you how
Elgato
much.
is doing well. Um, yeah. So
Hold
can it?
on.
The thing
I'll
is,
tell you how many races Formula One have this year. I think it's 24.
okay. Kenneth was the thing is Kenneth is actually finishing his races. So I think
Hmm.
Kenneth is also playing the long game. I think consistency is going to win that Moto2 championship this year. Probably not the person with the most wins.
Yeah, Formula One has 24 races this year.
Okay. I think it's going to be the person. I think Moto2 is not going to be the person who wins the most races. It's probably going to be a consistency game.
True.
And I think Kenneth is playing that game.
Because who won it
Manuel
last year?
Gonzalez is fast, so he's going to come back in
Who
the
won it
fourth.
last? Who won Moto2? Aguero. Did
I
he
agree.
win most races? The most races last year? I don't think he did.
I don't remember,
No, I don't think he won most races last year. But he was the most
Wait, we
consistent
have
of
to
all
fact
of
check.
us.
I can't really don't want to put that out there. We have to really. I don't
Yeah.
remember if he did. Right. So it's Jake Dixon on top now, right? Yeah, and let's see how the likes of Daniel Garda when they come to Europe and see how long it take David Alonso to get up to speed, right? Because at the moment, you look at let's see what we got out there going on. So let's do
Yeah, Aguero had 3 wins last year.
3 wins. Okay, so
Yeah.
Kenneth, where we at? So there's a 15-point lead from Jake Dixon to Kenneth.
Mm-hmm.
Right, from Manuel, from Gonzalez, it's what we got right here. 14. What's that? 14 points. So 14. Yeah, one is 14 and one is 15. I think. Let me check it out. See if I got it right.
Hold on.
Points difference. So no, 13 and 14 it is. So Gonzalez is a point behind Kenneth.
Mm-hmm.
So Jake is on 59. Kenneth is on 46. And
46.
Gonzalez is on 45.
Yeah.
So 14 and 13, right?
Yeah.
And then Lopez is further down with 30 points.
30. Arbolino with 28. Ramirez 27. Baltos 23 with same as Olgado. What does David Alonso has? Where is he? Damn. He doesn't have a point.
He doesn't have a point yet. He hasn't scored any points yet.
No.
2 points. 2 points.
Yeah, 2 points.
He's got 2 points.
That was when he scored 2 points in this weekend. Finished 14th.
So, but yeah, he's chipping away. As I say, he's a rookie, but as I said, everyone thought it was going to be him that's going to hit the ground running, but it was actually Olgado. So
yeah, but look at Sasaki. Ayumi Sasaki has no points whatsoever.
Yeah.
Terrible. But he's
not a rookie though.
Yeah, but that's Moto shows you how difficult Moto 2 is.
Yeah, and which is what I was saying to you when we spoke about it earlier on coming the season about David Alonso and his dominant Moto 3 win championship. I'm like, man, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to translate over in Moto 2 like that. Right? Moto 2 is a whole different type of ball game. Right? So let's see how long it will take him to get up to speed or how soon. Right? He qualified well this weekend. So let's see if he could continue that and keep progressing up the grid. Right. So that's really it for Moto 2. There's not really a lot going on there right now. Moto 3.
Your boy Rueda. Hey.
Did his thing.
Did his thing.
But what I'm most impressed about this weekend is the kid that made his debut.
Quiles or something like that.
Yeah.
Because at one point he was running.
That's how it's pronounced.
Yeah. At one point he was running in the top 4 or top 5, I think. I think he was running.
No, he went all the way up to top 3.
Yeah. So he was okay.
Right. And he actually led the race at one point. I think he led the race at one point.
Bro, you want to see something funny?
Yeah.
It's his first race and he's 13th in the championship.
Yeah. He finished 5th.
With 11 points. With 11 points, he's 13th in the championship. That's crazy.
So the way he was riding, I'm like, yo, this boy got talent because Kota is not a good place to make your debut, bro.
Why not?
Because Kota, so the thing with Kota, right? They always say Kota is one of the most physically demanding track on the calendar. It's long, right? It's bumpy. So for him to come to Kota as a rookie, qualified well, raced well, finished well, that's good.
It was impressive. Again, it was definitely impressive for a first race.
Yeah, for a first race. And Piqueras still hasn't won this year yet. He was the title favorite coming into the season.
And he's 22, and he's 24 points behind Rueda.
Rueda totally ripped that up.
Nah, Piqueras. Right? I mean, he hasn't won this season. Didn't he win in Argentina?
Did he win in Argentina? No, he did not win in Argentina.
Yeah, he won in Argentina. Yeah.
Did he win in Argentina? Was that the race that he won?
Yeah, he won, and Rueda came third.
Oh,
he beat Fernandez.
Oh, yeah, that's the one with the shenanigans on the last lap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I take that back. Yeah, actually, so he won this year. But he's he coming the season, he was a title favorite.
Well, I mean, it's still not over
early
yet.
It's still early days.
He's 24 points behind Rueda on 66 and 42. So, I mean, and we know what Moto 3 is like. Them dudes are terrorists. So, I ain't ruling nothing out. Nothing. It's still all to play for. He still can do it, even with that big of a gap.
Yeah, of course. It's still early days. It's just that everyone had him as a favorite.
Yeah, right? Well, so again,
it's what two race to Rueda, one to Piqueras.
Yeah, because
Rueda won.
I mean, Rueda has been on the podium in every race. His lowest finish was third again in Argentina. Piqueras, I mean, he
And
It's
so
good on.
far, Rueda is riding better than
Yeah.
Piqueras. Because the thing is with Piqueras, right? He's a bit of a wild boy. Even when he was on the Leopard last year,
Mm.
he was a wild boy. So let's see how soon he irons that out.
Well, it's going to
Right?
be. I'm more interested. To me, I think the Moto3 category is far more exciting than the other two.
Yeah, because that's proving ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's proving ground. That's where you got to prove you can race, right? Everything happens in Moto 3. That's where you start getting like, okay, he's got racecraft. Might not have won a race and stuff like that, But that's when they start looking at stuff to be like, okay, this is a good one, right?
And the thing is, and the bikes are more. No, then I was gonna say they're more similar, but then I remember they run different engines, so yeah, they're not really that similar.
It's just two different manufacturers,
Yeah,
just KTM and Honda.
yeah, so they're two different engines. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You know what's one of the things that surprised me when I looked at the standings
Mm-hmm.
is this guy, Rueda. Dennis Fudge is 7th in the championship. I did not realize that.
What's
Yeah,
he on? It's on what, 24 points?
24 points. And I'm here thinking he's doing way worse than he actually is.
There you go.
Right, so he's just steadily just bringing in little points here and there, and now he's in the top 10.
Yeah, but is he really bringing? He's not really bringing chunks of points, is he? The most he scored in one race was Thailand, 10 points.
No, he's not.
So,
No, but what I'm saying to you, it's still points. And from where I seen where he was practicing in his qualifying, it looked terrible. So for him to be in the top 10 of the championship, I know it's only 3 races, but we still got to acknowledge it. I didn't expect him to be top 10 based on what I was seeing.
yeah, well, these things happen. So let's see how he continues for the rest of the season.
Yeah,
So
but
he
I
continue.
don't think he's championship contender though.
No.
I just brought him up because he came down from Moto 2, and but what that shows you is that when you make that step back, it's also it's just it's probably even harder than when
Because he
go up.
went down, he stepped down from Moto2.
Yeah. And everyone who's done that so far, from what I've seen, it's been tough.
Yeah, because them Moto3 boys ain't playing down there.
It's tough. Danny
It's a
Kent did
dig.
it. It was rough when he came back down.
The Moto3 boys are different, completely different.
Yeah, so it's terrorist country Moto 3, right? And but yeah, Rueda doing his thing. Piqueras is treading away. And then Keyless. So now Keyless is in the mix. Let's see how that mixes things up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Adrian Fernandez, he's there about, right? For some reason I like him as a little. I think he's improved as a rider.
Who's that?
Adrian Fernandez. So that's Raul Fernandez, the younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Whenever you look at him, look like he's always in a fight. Like he looks like a little boxer. When he takes his, he looks like he was in a fight, not riding a motorcycle. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I saw him in person. He's a little guy. Right. Saw his teammate is Almeida. Saw him as well. And yeah, but yeah, third race out the way. It was a good one. Kota was a great experience. I'm going to do a whole pod where I talk to you about the whole Kota experience.
Mm-hmm.
And me climbing the tower. Not fun. I was warned to take the elevator, but I chose to take the stairs.
Actually, I saw a video where someone actually timed themselves against an actual MotoGP lap. And the MotoGP lap was a 2 minute, I think 2 minute 3. The guy did it in 1 minute 53 seconds.
He went up them stairs in 1 minute 53.
420 steps?
He cheated.
No, they showed it. They sped it up. He walked up all of them 400.
On the MotoGP feed?
No, I saw it on Twitter. I can't remember. But
He
yeah, the
cheated.
guy.
You ain't going up that in no 1 minute and no 20.
He ran up it. Why not?
Oh, he ran up it. Oh.
Yeah. He didn't walk it, ran up it. But then again, them knees, yeah, I couldn't do. My knees already
I
gone
think I'm gonna
already.
put the
So
video out, then you'll see how long it took us. How quick we got up there, I should say.
yeah, man, you
Real
slow,
quick, right?
you
But,
slow. So
but yeah, there's a lot more from the Kota weekend. But we're gonna have an episode. It's just about the Kota experience, not just the race and all that stuff. Just what's available there, why they should actually go there. There's a few things that they're installing at the track as well.
okay,
Right, so
cool.
yeah, we kind of went long on this one, almost towards. I'm gonna edit a lot of this, to be honest. Right, but yeah. Once again, everyone who listens, please subscribe to the podcast. It's the Grand Prix Project. It's on everywhere that you can consume podcasts. Every single one, from Apple, Spotify, iHeartMedia, as long as Amazon, as long as there's a podcast, as long as it's a podcast platform, we're there. The Grand Prix Project. Just look for the bright yellow helmet, and that's
Can't
us.
miss us.
Right? You could follow me. What's my Twitter handle?
The GP pod Dre. Ha ha ha.
The Grand Prix Project Dre.
The Grand Prix Project Dre. You can find
Grand Prix
me at
Project
Thanos. And I'm
Say
at
that
the
again.
usual. You can find me at the usual Thanos 78. So that's 7 HANOS 876. Or like I always say, wherever you see fire on Twitter, that's me. Because I'm always burning stuff down.
All right. And then on Instagram, you could follow the Grand Prix Project podcast or the Grand Prix Project. So it's the A and B page. The same thing is on both, just in case we get asked. So we got the backup going at the same time, right?
Yep.
And we're on YouTube as well. We haven't uploaded any videos on there, but you could follow it in the meantime, so you'll be the first to see the videos that we put up. Right? Yeah. So once again, follow us on all streaming platforms. For those of you who are listening or have been listening, who subscribe, I appreciate you guys. All the people that saw us at Kota, scan the T-shirt, scan scan the QR code on my phone. If you're listening, I appreciate you. Thank you. It goes a long way. Right. So once again, this has been the Grand Prix Project podcast with me, your host, Andre Miller, and the big bro,
Thanos
876.
876.
Peace out.
All right.